here on Kaieteur Radio 99.1 and 99.5 FM. I am Josh Van Sleckman, and once again, thank you for joining us. Before we bring to you today's news in details, let's bring to you today's front page comment and today's page dedicated in the Kaieteur News for being blunt. Let's start with our blunt page in today's Kaieteur News. The PPPC leaders are like drunken sailors, spending without thinking. Their spending is based on extravagant borrowing. First, a $30 million received last month, another $30 million approved this month. Each month of indebtedness of $6 billion for a total of $125 billion for COVID-19. On top of that, they have taken over $120 million for technical and infrastructural projects. And now for today's front page comment titled, "We don't have to be this way." Every country, no matter how healthy, that should be how wealthy, has a share of poor. Guyana has approximately 12,000 persons that receive public assistance. 1,000 more need such assistance. Without help, these persons cannot live other than like stray dogs looking for scraps. We don't have to be this way. We have oil. Not a single Guyanese should be on public assistance. Guyana is like a man sitting on $1 million and not having anything to wear or eat, not even a proper home, naked, hungry, and homeless. Guyana is poor because its wealth is hidden away, given away, or spirited away by our political leaders. 750,000 Guyanese are sitting on millions, but our political leaders have hidden this wealth from them. They engage in double talk, double dealing, and doubling down for their own benefit. When PPPC and APNU and AFC leaders conduct themselves in this corrupt manner, they cheat us. It doesn't have to be this way for any Guyanese. Guyanese, isn't it time we all pay attention? Isn't it time that we all say something? Isn't it time that we all let our anger flow to the surface and in the faces of these lying, cheating leaders? And now for the top stories we're tracking for today, Sunday, December 13th, 2020. World's biggest oil trader quickly pays $160 million to settle corruption allegations. In the $150 million CGIO expansion fiasco, government rejects Chinese contractor demand for more money and threatens legal action for future projects. And tapping of AFC executive phones, AFC says it's fake news. Granger to issue statement today. Trinidad took decades to close loopholes. Oil expert warns Guyana not to walk that same road. And the People's Progressive Party Civic took over $180 million in loans from development banks in last 6 weeks. And Finance Minister says government financing critical projects. Get the details of these stories and much more when the news returns. And now for the news in details. Once again, my name is Josh Van Sleckman and you're listening to us right here on Kaieteur Radio 99.1 and 99.5 FM. Let us get to the news in details. Even though we had warned earlier this year that Vital SA, the world's largest oil trader, has extremely corrupt past and should therefore be disqualified from doing in nation's relatively young oil sector, the Energy Department still went ahead and selected it to be a part of the short list of companies to be considered to market Guyana crude. Last week, the world learned that this very corrupt company has been paying foreign officials left, right, and center to win contracts. In response, it quickly paid millions of dollars to settle the allegations. Get the full story in today's Kaieteur News. The People's Progressive Party Civic has rejected requests by the troubled Chinese contractor, China Harboring Engineering Company Limited, for additional funds to complete the Chedijagan International Airport expansion project. The government has threatened to pursue legal actions and possibly bar the company from undertaking further projects if it fails to execute the contract per the agreed specification. In a letter sent to the company's chair, the Attorney General and the Minister of Legal Affairs Anil Nandalal made it clear that the company agreed to carry out the planning, design and construction for the extension of the country's main airport. We tell you now that, quote-unquote, it is merely fake news, was the report given by two executive members of the AFC in response to allegations that the executive of the coalition government under then-President David Granger had ordered the surveillance of a senior minister from the party weeks after the last elections. Reliable sources who saw the correspondence on the matter told us that the executive had received credible reports that the minister was alleged to have been involved in a number of illegal practices linked to the ammunition and gun licenses, among other activities. Even though Guyana's CARICOM sister Trinidad and Tobago has been in the oil and gas industry for well over 100 years, its poor management and weakened institutional capacity that spans decades have thrown its economy into a state of ill health. The government, led by Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley, is struggling to repair the damage by embarking on a campaign of contract renegotiation, while its experienced industry stakeholders zero in on Guyana's emerging oil wealth and mineral and means of survival. To ensure that it does not find itself in the same predicament, Trinidad and Tobago's energy expert Anthony Paul firmly asserts that Guyana needs to begin the critical groundwork. He noted that Trinidad and Tobago has been in trouble with the management of its gas resource for years. You can get the interview with Mr. Anthony Paul this evening at 7 p.m. right here on Kaieteur Radio. The PPPC in just 6 weeks have taken over $180 million in loans from development banks to combat COVID-19 and to finance infrastructural projects. Finance Minister Dr. Ashni Singh said yesterday that these loans are for critical projects linked to Guyana's development and that the government is working to ensure that there is responsible fiscal management. The Inter-American Development Bank approved $22 million loan, which it announced on November 9th under the contingent credit facility for natural disaster and public health emergency. The bank said that the expenditures are necessary to contain transmission of COVID-19 and mitigate further health and economic consequences. This is your main newscast right here on Kaieteur Radio 99.1, 99.5 FM. More news after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Thank you for joining us right here on Kaieteur Radio. Investigators from Soku last week seized about 1,000 files pertaining to the issuance of firearm licenses under the coalition government. The files were seized from the office of the police commissioner, Eve Leary, between Wednesday and Thursday and would have involved firearm licenses granted since 2018. The new government on the air finale took office in August and said it found significant breaches when it came to the issuance of firearm licenses. There were suggestions that millions of dollars were being paid off for gun licenses, a rumor that has been circulating for years now and which involves a major bribery racket. The Brazilian mining regulator ANM will hold a virtual public hearing on Tuesday afternoon on guidelines for the planned auction of thousands of areas for mineral exploration. The government is planning to offer exploration concessions for around 5,000 areas as part of the efforts to attract investment and diversify the sector. According to an ANM statement, Brazil is highly dependent on relatively few mining products, with iron ore representing the 2/3 of the sector revenue, followed by gold and copper. A robbery attempt on a barn by at least 2 bandits on Friday evening went horribly wrong for one of them. After the smoke cleared, one of the men were found dead on the scene, along the Eccles Access Road. The man, identified as Zandan Mohammed of Annandale Pump Road, East Coast, Demerara, was killed sometime around 21 hours during an exchange of gunfire with security guards. We were told that the brief shootout went down at the industrial site Eccles, East Bank, Demerara. And coming from Philadelphia, USA, officers within the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement removed a Guyanese national Thursday following his conviction and sentencing in the Eastern District of New York for his role in the May 20th plot to attack a New York International Airport. On January 13, 2011, Compton Eversley, aka Adel Nur, 70, was convicted and sentenced in a Brooklyn federal court to 168 months in prison for providing material support to a conspiracy that planned to attack the John F. Kennedy International Airport in Jamaica, New York, by exploding fuel tanks and the fuel pipeline under the airport. And with that, we've come to the end of your main newscast right here on Kaieteur Radio 99.1 and 99.5 FM. Let's remind you that you can get the full details of these stories and much more by picking up a copy of the Kaieteur News at a newsstand near you, or head across to our website at kaieteurnewsonline.com. I am Joshua Van Slegman. Thank you for joining us, and let's remind you that coming up after the break is your weekend review where we recap all the top stories carried over the past week, and at 11 hours, a rebroadcast of the Glenn Lal Show. Once again, I am Joshua Van Slegman. Have a great remainder of your Sunday morning, and season greetings to you.